Okay. Hi and welcome, everybody. We are back for another catastrophe healing talk. And today we are going to talk about our dying world. And my name is Helmut. I am here with our beautiful friend Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
And of course, Kay, our fearless leader. Hi, Kay. And we talk about the end of this era, that this the world we are living in, the era we're living in, is ending, and we are moving into a new one. And we talk about why that's happening and what we can do about it. What's the best way to live through this and support this transition and build a new world? So, Kate, get us started.
All right. Well, I think most everybody in the modern world certainly realizes the world is changing drastically, and a lot of it just seems to be disintegrating, right before our eyes, uh, under our feet, and in our pocketbook, and in the grocery store, and it's like everywhere we look, it's like things are getting less. They're not as good, and there's less of it, and um, we have trouble keeping all of these systems, these giant centralized systems, running and going. Um, we have trouble healing our population and feeding our population and educating our population. And in our memories, you talk to older people, and it just didn't seem like it was all that bad back then. There's certain things that were a little troublesome, and they could remember the depression and stuff like that, or maybe they heard stories when they were kids from great grandparents uh, about crossing North America in a wagon train, and that was pretty rough. But things are always on the boom, on the upswing. There's always that tone. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better, and we're going to improve this. And it's not like that anymore. It seems to be getting worse by the day. And if you watch any of the latest happenings, either on the internet, on YouTube, or if you're watching actual news channels, which are not so popular anymore, you hear the same thing: the banks closing and all kinds of surprising things just deteriorating. It feels like we don't have any way to help that, any way to stop that. And that's what the majority of the modern population thinks. That's the way they think. They're buried under hopelessness and victimization, and they might lose their house. What are they going to do? What if they lose their jobs? Are they going to find any more jobs? Are they going to be any better? Or do they have to keep adding on another job, and still not be able to make all the payments or buy the food that they would be best nourished by? And this is it. We could see it. This is what the ancestors, the ancients, talked about. And in their words, they talked about it as, this is the end of this world, this era, this chunk of time. And it has happened a number of times before. We've had the end of the world before, and sometimes there's been terrible things and disasters, and certainly we can see the remains of all the collapsed civilizations that dotted around the world. And the ancients say that goes way back, way back. Well, why is that happening? Why why do these worlds flourish and they do their thing uh, and then they die out? Maybe from a catastrophe, maybe not. But one thing that the ancients say about these worlds and what were civilizations in those different worlds and big cities and big populations. Some of them had amazing technology, way better than ours, way better than ours, and space travel and all kinds of things. And they still died out. And how come they couldn't survive? Well, what the ancients say about that is that they lost their moral compass. They lost their connection to the earth and to the universe and to their connectedness to humanity and to all life, all living things. They became destructive and then greedy and corrupt. These worlds became corrupt in all kinds of different ways. They started to depend on warfare in order to make their economics work. And I guess they thought, going bumping off their neighbors, stealing all their stuff, bringing it home was somehow going to fix their world or them. They lost touch with the ancient teachings of what a human life really is and what it's about and what it contains and what our potentials are. We as a species have the most amazing potentials within us. Telepathy, teleportation, without technology. This is abilities that we have in our bodies, in our consciousness, in our minds. It's built in. It's part of our DNA, you could say, our blueprint. We have clairvoyance, being able to see at a distance, being able to have telekinesis. Did I say that word already? All those different things, all the fairy tale stories, with all the superpowers, yeah, all the super people powers. Those are real. They may not look like the things you see in the movies with the superheroes, but we do have them, and it doesn't require technology. We have to get all that back. We have to get the love back. We have to get the perception of happiness and peace within ourselves, and that it is everywhere around us. We've just learned how to ignore it. We just turned our sights away from all that beauty and the peace and the harmony and the symbiotic interactions. And we've learned how to think in terms of corruption and warfare. And so we go out into nature and we're not connecting to it. We're not really seeing what's there, what they're really doing. We're projecting our own concepts of corruption and warfare onto nature. And we call nature violent and dangerous. And we think of a predatory animal as being vicious, hateful. It wants to get us. It wants to get us. And that's not what nature is. We've lost the view of it, but we can gain it back. The ancients called this waking up. Not a simple waking up, like noticing, there seems to be a lot of inflation lately. Or they go in the grocery store and they're looking at the prices on the products, and they're trying to notice, wasn't that a lot less last week? Wasn't that a little different? Am I making that up? Did I dream that? Was that right? That's right. It was a lot less. We need to wake up on all kinds of levels. Simple everyday levels, economic level for sure, because everything in our modern world is corrupt. It's gotten more and more and more corrupt through the millennia, through the centuries, through the decades. And now we we don't even know how to think in a way that doesn't include corruption being okay. What is that? Where'd that come from? How'd we decline so much? These are the signs of the end of the world. This is it. This is it. They call it the upside down, backwards turning wheel world. That's exactly what it is. Everything that's in that, especially the modern world, is just like that. That's what it is. Upside down and backwards. Kind of reminds you of some of the other ancient teachings that has snuck into our lives in all the way down to recent years, like the tarot cards. And some of those symbols go way back, pre-flood, way back. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about the old world decaying away under our very fingers and feet and building a new world. What are we going to build?
That will be. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
No, you can go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Kay to talk more about that, what we can build and how we can build it. But you go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, I'm how old am I? Almost 52, almost 53, somewhere in there. And you were talking about, I grew up in a povertish area, literally nicknamed Felony Flats, where I grew up, and it's still that way. And a lot of problems out there, growing up. And so, as you were saying, this, I kind of feel like my 50 years has been experienced in the backwards turning wheel throws. I had somebody ask me, I was doing a reading, who knew about the backwards turning wheel and that this was an end of an era. And she asked me to ask the spirits about it. Like, if the other world's dead, why is it so challenging right now? And the spirits showed me a chicken with its head cut off. And I come from a farming background, and I know it's kind of graphic, but the spirits were saying the chicken doesn't know it's dead. And if you experienced that, or heard about it, a chicken basically can run around for a while without its head. And that's what they were saying. Earth is a chicken with its head cut off. It's dead. and it's in its death throes. And I kind of felt like I got born in the death throes, because my experience, as my grandparents spoke of a world without, locked doors, or, some of the things, that wasn't my experience at all growing up. Like I said, I grew up in an area where you hid all the mental illnesses. They scraped them up and pushed them into my street. Drug dealing, all of it. Most of my life, I've experienced this death throes of the earth, and it's kind of coming into and I'm able to pull myself obviously out of that lifestyle and that living, but I can, as we talk about it, it's always been, I'm Gen X, and so we came out to no jobs out of college. I was right before, all the tech jobs were, becoming available, and 20 somethings were becoming millionaires. I've missed all of it. I've been, inflation. No, it's not. This life so far has not been an easy path, and so I'm kind of in the group that's ready for the death throes to be over. Just give me something different than what this is. So I guess that's my thought. Bring on the era of the heart. Let's go. But I want to hear Kay. I want Kay to answer your question, because I think that's a great segue.
I have a couple of thoughts too before we go to that. I think most of the people are still distracted from what's really going on. I mean, you have entertainment, a lot of entertainment, and a lot of distractions and deflection and gaslighting and yada, yada, yada. And it seems like house prices are going up, the stock market is going up. What very few people realize, house prices are only going up not because the value of the house increases, but the value of the dollar is falling like mad. So you need more pieces of paper to pay for a house. But aside from all of that, I think people are afraid to pay attention to this, because what does it entail? What does that really mean when this era ends and when this world ends? What happens to me? What happens to my life? What happens to the people I love? What happens to the world? So, Kate, if you would want to speak to that, and of course, then go into how best to live through this and have fun along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, before you go there,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us live. Really, really appreciate that. All of you beautiful people. And if any questions pop up for you, or if you just want to say hi, put them in the comments, in the chat, and hopefully we have time to at the end to get to those. All right.
Okay. Well, I'm of the generation that can remember the nobody locked their doors, not at night, not through the day, for anything, about nothing. There was just no comprehension of any kind of problem out there, or anybody going to get you, or break into your house, or so the world. When I was little, the world was definitely on that much slower going, and in a way trusting. And I was born in 48, so I was growing up through the 50s, and the 60s. And that was a real fairy tale kind of an era. I think, we've all either we're remembering the 50s or we've seen movies of the 50s. And the 50s housewife and who, just stayed at home and was all prim and proper and happy and took care of all these beautiful little things. And everything was such a fairy tale. Now the corruption and the lies, the warfare is starting to be so big and so prevalent. And we have all this media now. We have TV everywhere. We have internet everywhere. And people are on their phones all the time. They're seeing and hearing all these different things going on and depictions of things. And we could see it around us. And you can't hide from it. Even though I'm quite sure a lot of modern people are still doing their darndest to hide in the fairy tale from this, but it's there. And they feel it, and they're afraid. And this corrupt world, this upside down, backwards turning wheel energy that makes this world, it's spiritually speaking, they would call this a very, very giant thought form. Very, very big, encompassing pretty much the whole planet, pretty much most of the people. There are some primitives still out there that haven't been bothered too much. They live their ancient ways in their ancient little out of the way places. But the modern world, we have built this giant thought form that we lived in all these centuries and millennia. Really, millennia. It started millennia ago. Exactly how or who or what or why, we don't have all those answers so much. Some of that didn't get all the way passed down to us. But what they say is this is it's like a big bubble. A thought form is like a big bubble that floats around. And most of the time people are just making little thought forms. We make thought forms every second that we're thinking, we're feeling, and they're little bubbles. Some of them stay with us or stay with our house or where we're living. Some of them move off and float down the street. Some of them go join a whole bunch of more of these bubbles in a city. The city is super crowded. All the cities super crowded with thought forms because like attracts like in the thought form world. So an angry thought form might leave your house and your neighborhood because it's just not angry enough to feed it. They have to be fed in order to keep alive. And what feeds an angry thought form is more anger. So they go off to find more angry thought forms. And a lot of them end up in the congested areas in the cities where there's just a lot of people all crowded together and a lot of angry thought forms. And the thought forms join together and just make bigger thought forms and older thought forms. And they influence the people. And then the people influence the thought forms and add to it. Whatever they're thinking, they're feeling, whatever emotions they're feeling, it all goes into the thought form. And then we're all exposed to that. But if we run into that thought form, we're exposed to that. We're influenced by that. So here we have you could kind of picture it like the whole planet in the middle of this big bubble thought form. It's just huge. It goes way into the sky and deep into the earth, as the ancients always said. And you can't fix what's broken inside a system. You can't fix it with the same kind of thinking that made the problem in the first place. If you're staying in that thought form, you're still thinking the same way. You're still thinking the broken thoughts and the corrupted thoughts and that way of living and that way of analyzing things and trying to figure out how to make the world work for you instead of against you. You're contributing to the thought form. You're feeding it. You're feeding it. And it's feeding you. It's feeding you all that nasty, grungy energy and anger and fear and victimization. And the list of nasties just goes on and on and on and on. So what you have to do is get out of it. You have to get out of it. And as long as you stay in the middle of that thought form and you're thinking with it and you're talking with it and sleeping with it, you're not going to get out of the thought form. You can't get away from it if you're in it. So get out of the thought form, and that's what the ancient teachings do. They provide you a place and a way, a how, and a what. What do you do to get out of that thought form? You just don't participate anymore. You look at it with questioning eyes. Is that real? Is that the way that's supposed to go? Should it be that way? Are we really this disconnected to everything? Is that scientific? Is that real? We need to question everything, everything, everything. And that's just how my teachers used to say that. Everything, everything, everything. Because I'd ask them over and over again, well, what do I need to question? What's wrong with this scientific thing? Or what's wrong with that idea about some social nicety way of living or some kind of a tradition that we have? What do you mean? What's wrong with our banks? What's wrong with the government? I heard that guy running for president is going to be really, really good, and we should really look at that, and he's going to do this and this and this. And they go, no, it's a bullshit. No. You have to question all of it. Don't believe it just because somebody said it, or you read it someplace, or you saw it in a movie, or you saw it on a YouTube or whatever. Question it. Question everything. And start trying to feel. One of the things that we have lost in this modern world, and it's gotten just worse through the decades, the centuries, and the millennia, is our ability to feel. We've kept a few of the emotions, especially the bad ones, the unfortunate ones, the nasty things, but We're talking about feeling love, feeling happiness, feeling the beauty of everything, feeling the life that's everywhere. Right now, on the other side of my computer, over there is a big picture window, and it's looking outside at a gorgeous blue sky, and there's all these little birds. There's this whole bunches of little birds, and they're all nesting, and they're all flying around, and they're doing all their little things, and they're building their nests and making the love dance and the trying to get their territories. And the trees are out there, and everything is so alive. There's so much life and consciousness in everything. And all we have to do is stop our thoughts, get ourselves out of that nasty old thought form, and see what's really there. Feel what's really there around us all the time. And feel yourself. Because the truth of ourselves, our beingness, our soul, our spirit, whatever kind of words you want to use to call that, it never dies. It's always there, and it is made of love like everything else, and it has great love for its own self and for everything else and for the connectedness, and it feels so connected to everything. To feel into that tree out there, feel its thoughts. It does have thoughts. Feel its feelings and its aliveness and all the things that it's trying to do and be connected and help with all these different animals and the birds and their nests and it tries to help with people too. People just ignore them. People think, we have a culture that thinks trees are an inanimate thing, that it essentially non-thinking, kind of, dead. There's nothing dead about trees or anything else in our environment, the dirt and the rocks and the sky and the water and the air. There is nothing dead about it. And if you can feel it and feel the love and the passion and the excitement for life, then you start to notice, ooh, there's a lot of information in all of this energy. And when I think about a certain thing, a subject, and I'm questioning it, and all this, the information coming from the actual aliveness, the consciousness of the world around me. And there's answers there. There's history there. There's science there. There's artistic things and feelings, and it's all there. And if you step into that world, you're not going to be hurt by the other world. Whatever happens, whatever they do, whatever they try to do, it just washes right off you. And you're building a different thought form, a new thought form. The more we participate in the thought form of beauty and love and harmony and connectedness and aliveness, and it grows. That thought form grows and grows and grows. And the old thought form is dying of starvation because you left. You're not feeding it. You don't think about it. You don't deal with it. You stepped out of that world in every form and every way of living that you can do that. And you put your attention towards the love and the beauty and the light and the everything's alive, conscious, and it can talk to you. And you can share feelings. And the telepathy grows, it develops in you. You can talk to that tree. You can talk to the rocks. And that was one of the first things the teachers had me do was go talk to the rocks. And I want you to collect a certain kind of rock and only bring these certain ones and the ones that want to come. You can't bring anybody else. And then shoo me out and make me go hunt. So
I'm so glad you talked about that, because I think that's one of the most important things to consider, that you can't fix this from within the system. It's way too far gone. And if you fight it, or if you fight elements from it, you just make it live longer.
you feed it.
You keep it on life
Yeah.
support longer. And it's not an easy concept to grasp for people. What does that really mean, stepping out? And you'd be amazed the more you dive into that, what that all entails. So
But
thank
it's
you
not
for that.
hard either. It entails change, but it's not hard change. It's beautiful change.
It's beautiful and exciting.
Yeah. I think that's where some of the people get it. I've had those friends who are angry, and that's they wear the t-shirt, if you're not angry, you're not awake. If you're not angry, you're not aware. And it's you can question everything and choose not to go there and still stay in all the love and all the beauty. And once you even open that pathway to this is, and step outside of love, okay, you beautifully explained it. I mean, just beautifully. It's like step out of that bubble and stop feeding it anger and disappointment. And these practices help you connect to the beauty. It's like when I see the world, I don't unsee all the ugly. It's there. But being in the ugly, I couldn't see the beauty. And it's when you step out, it's not a lack of not knowing it's there, but you diminish it. Once you realize there's absolutely right now in this world, here and now, more beauty, more beautiful things going on. But in there, you can't see it. You're in the cloud. You're in, from Peanuts, Pigpen's gray, dusty, circling cloud. You can't see it. And step one is stepping out, so you're not feeding it to help starve it. Like you said, that was so beautiful. I mean, it's why you're our fearless leader. You're the one teaching me to go talk to the rocks these days. But there are things that need to be done, things that we as humans need to learn, and Kay's teaching them from the ancient studies. And as you learn them, this easefulness, it's in some ways that's seeing that cloud from the outside, it's not unaware. My happiness, while this world is dissolving and dying, has, is that knowledge that it is, because I'm on the outside waving at other people to come join me. The kiddie pool's great on this side. And it's beautiful. I mean, you can, there's strength and stability on this side, in the things that we need to change. It's like it's watching the currents come in and roll out, but you're standing. You're not being swept away with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, your bike's off, Helmut?
Before we go on, if you want to learn more about all this, join us for our summer gathering. We're going to talk a whole lot about all these things. And Kay is teaching a lot more about what the ancient teachings teach about how to live through this era. So, and like I said, questions, put them in the chat. And I want to ask Kay, what kind of world can we build if we step out of the old system and realize it's broken, nothing is going to fix it? What can we build? Describe the world that is before us if we choose?
Okay. Well, first we have to accept that idea that the old, everything in the world, the old stuff is falling apart. It's on its last dying breath. One of the things the ancients used to always say about the backwards turning upside down wheel, or whichever way you want to say that, is that it's a wheel. It's moving, it's turning, kind of traveling. And as it travels, it tears things apart. That's the nature of it. It is a tearing apart energy. So it tears the world apart, but it also tears itself apart. And we have reached the point where it cannot pick up the pieces that it lost and try to shove them back in and make them work, keep going. Can't do that anymore. They just can't do it. If everything's just totally disintegrating. And when we realize that, we accept that, we can build something different. We step out of the old, out of the all those old breaking, dying in their death throes way of living and thinking and being, and step into what's real. The real love, the real beauty, the real peace, the great peace and happiness and joy and the knowledge of your own self, of who you are, what your self feels like, what this eternalness feels like, and learn to get to know it like your best friend, your best of besties through the eons. And then we have a chance to see what we want. We don't know what we want if we're in the middle of the old bubble that's dying. We're only thinking in the corrupt thought form way. When you're in that thought form, that's the only way you're going to be able to think and perceive. You can't perceive anything else. And like Laura said, you can't perceive outside the bubble. All these beautiful things that are outside the bubble that are so exciting and beautiful and endless. You have no perception of. But if you step out there and you learn how to do that, you work on feeling. Just feeling, questioning everything, feel. Observe everything for what it is without making, don't jump to any conclusions, don't have their expectations, and don't judge anything. That belongs in the dying wheel, the world. So just leave it there. Give it back. Leave it there. We need to find our own way, and a way of true love and true observing and true connectedness. And we can build all the different institutions that we see we actually need. And maybe we need only very little institutions. Maybe that's all we want in a little tiny community, a little village house, uh, town. Maybe we want to live in a bigger town and develop more resources, or start making new kinds of artwork, communities, technologies. We hear stories about these technologies that the government military complex is hiding and keeping for themselves selfishly, with free energy and anti-gravity and teleportation and all kinds of incredible things. We can work with that. We can figure out what those things are. We could hunt down that kind of knowledge and truth and experiment and make those things in the world if that's what we really want. We can change our whole government system. Right now, in this backwards turning wheel government, everything is centralized. Every institution is centralized. Even our religions are centralized. And what that means is they're a pyramid. You are the masses at the bottom of the pyramid, and up at the top, the point of that pyramid, up way up there, is the ruler, the controllers, the elites, and they tell everybody else what to do. That's the old way of thinking in the world that's dying away. That's corrupt way of thinking. We don't have to live that way. If we think we need governments, we can make them. Do they have to be centralized? No. Same with religions, and same with schools and education, and same with anything that has to do with medicine. Do we really need the pharmaceutical companies? They're really part of that old world. Do you want that, really? Have you ever really looked at what those so-called medicines do? The damage that they cause to people's health, to the economy, to everything about our way of life? How about the food? Oh, that's a big subject. The food from the old thought form. That ain't food. That is plastic and imitation, full of sugar and addictive molecules. I did say that right. Addictive. People need to realize their food, that modern food out there, the fast food and fast food way of cooking, all the box things on the shelves or bottled or in their frozen department. They're all processed foods. No, they're extremely addictive, and that's on purpose. And you want to get out of that. You want to eat from the farm, eat real food that does not have all those sugars and starches and fake things in it and vegetable oils, and because those are some of the things that keep you in that ugly thought form. They imprison you into the thought form. Give it a test. Don't blame me. Give it a test. Try stopping them. Stop them for a month or 2 or 3 and see how much better you feel. See what kind of illnesses you used to have for years and years are gone. or leaving or better. Everything that's in that fake world is it's just lies. Lies, 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 lies. Lies that are being told to you, lies in the form of food and drink and alcohol and drugs, and the way we educate people. We educate them to think in that nasty bubble. That's what happens in the school. You send your kids to public schools or private schools, and that's all they're learning. They're learning how to live and stay living and stay addicted to that nasty, corrupt bubble. So if you don't want to live that way, step out. There are ways that you can live outside the bubble without having to use their money, without having to use their food. You could just stay out of their way and do your own thing, build your own world, and get connected to like people who are like you, who want something different, who want something better. They want to build a whole new world. And it is time. This is the time to start building the new world. The ancients called this the bridge time. And the Mayas even gave it a date, 2012. December 2012. And they have a mark on their calendar, on their long calendar for that date. And then there's this bridge period of letting go of the old, building the new. That's where we're at. So who's going to jump off the old ship? that old Titanic that is quickly sinking. Who's going to jump off? Who's going to be in the new world, helping to build it in beautiful new ways?
And that's a lot of what the summer gathering's about.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Let me pull it up again. You got
Our daughter. We're over talking. Our daughter has, for years, she said that we have built our own world, that we are living the dream, and we've built our own world, that we don't live like any of the other people that she knows or has lived around or studies with or works with, or that's true.
Thank you.
Hear
Go
your
ahead.
little birdies. I just heard your little birdies chirping in the background. They're like, yes, this is our great little world we're in.
All right. If you want to meet more people that Kay just described, the gathering is the place.
And it's virtual too.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
If you can't get this far, hey, no problem. We will be online.
And we have one question. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Laura. Beautiful. When is your new book coming out, Kay?
Ooh. Well, we don't have an exact date. We have a working towards date, which hopefully is before the end of this month. It might take the whole month. We
You can say
shall
summer.
see. So,
It was very vague, but it's
yeah,
hopefully, yeah, by summer.
very soon. It's in the middle of the whole printing preparation process, which is that's a whole world of its own. It's,
It's
but
going to
it's
be beautiful, though.
beautiful and exciting and so much fun. And I started the very first writing of it that I did, which was from the spirits, which I talk about in the book. They kind of cornered me and, and made me have a vision quest and start writing this book that they wanted to tell me about the Weavings. It's called the Weavings, and it has to do with an ancient ceremony that gets done in the bridge times. Each bridge time, going way back, and so that was 2009. Very exciting. Very very honored. Still haven't quite figured out why they picked me to 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 try to do all of that, but but it's been seriously fun, and I've learned so much along the way. And I'm definitely a learning junkie. I could just never get enough. I just always want to know more about something, anything. It gets bigger and bigger and better and brighter all the time, and they provide it. And it is utterly delicious, utterly delicious. So, how long has that been? How many years has that been? Because I've been writing on these notes for all those years, 15-ish or
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
years.
So the book is The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. And it talks a whole lot about what we just scratched the surface of, I would say,
yeah.
in great detail. And beautiful. It's like
Yeah, in a
spiritual,
beautiful way.
spiritual poetry. Really, really amazing.
That's how the spirits talk, at least to me. And sometimes that's not quite talking in words, it's experiences. They put me in the middle of experiences and tell me to write down everything I see and everything I feel, and whatever thoughts are coming to me about it, or and so that's what I've been doing. 15 years. Keep
Yeah.
going back to it, and they keep telling me more.
Hmm.
So Sandra also shared that she taught her 2-year-old grandson to hug trees. That's how it starts. Very nice.
That's exactly how it starts. That's fabulous.
Oh, that's a beautiful image.
I hope she got some tree hugging in herself.
Yeah. All right. If there are any more questions, we give it another minute if something pops up. Otherwise, we close it out. Beautiful, beautiful talk. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Laura. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again. And we see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
Check out The Gathering. It's going to be a great adventure. Okay. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you, everybody. Love
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.